that. And you know what? John taught me something a long time ago. He told a story one time, I think a round table or maybe here, about a humble man that washed his players' feet. He felt he had made a mistake and he washed his players' feet to make amends. Well, I didn't go quite that far. But after the game and in the locker room, I apologized to my team. And they were in the same boat I was. They had given up on themselves. They didn't believe in themselves. They didn't like each other. They didn't like a lot of things about how we were playing. We underachieved. Our egos were too big. And I had given up on them 6 weeks ago. Frustrated, fighting through it. Every day was a fight. And what I apologized to them for is that it took me maybe 10 days, 2 weeks to regain my footing. And I've never had that happen in coaching. To where our staff sat in the room, and it's earlier in the week when I talked to John, and I said, guys, we aren't going out like this. It's just not going to happen. We aren't going out like this. And our week with the players was phenomenal. A great week with the players. But the players had given up on themselves, and I had joined in and given up on them too. An apology that they accepted, and then they reciprocated and apologized because they had given up on themselves. So a phenomenal moment in the locker room and life lessons. Jimmy Valvano said it best. Never give up. You never give up. And what our team talked about is you go through life and you're going to be defined by your hard times. You're going to be defined by a lot of the mistakes we make in life and the bad judgments we make in life and the wrong people we listen to in life. And it's not going to be what those decisions were we made at that time that defines us, but it's going to be how we respond to those decisions that define us. Are we going to snap out of it? Are we going to make amends for it, and we're going to move forward, and we're going to change how we operate? Well, this group in less than 2 weeks changed everything about themselves. The moodiest guy in our program became every day upbeat, started coaching his teammates. Guys who didn't want to fight for each other started fighting for each other. And the result was pretty obvious. You saw us demolish UOP. You saw us take apart Northridge. It wasn't even a game against Northridge. And you watched us lead pretty much from start to finish. With one time we got challenged and went behind by 1 against a really good Long Beach team. And I said to the guys in the locker room, and I'll stick with this, is that, guys, a lot of teams can play in big games. But there's a lot of difference between playing in a big game and winning a big game. I woke up Saturday morning and I knew we were going to win the game. I didn't have any doubt. I've been waiting all year to be able to acknowledge these guys and tell them they were ready. And the great thing is, they were ready. And so before the game, we talked about what it was going to be like winning and what the challenges were going to be in the game. But the fact that we responded, I couldn't be more proud of them. Was it the season we all dreamed about? No. Some of you in here have shared with me you weren't going to buy season tickets anymore. I don't buy that. But you know what? It's the end result. And it's watching guys go from dysfunctional to functional. Watching guys go from bad decisions to great decisions. Watching guys not care about each other to loving each other in the locker room. That is what coaching is all about. And so this might be one of my most rewarding seasons I've ever coached. This might be one of the seasons I learned the most in my history of coaching. Okay, so from that standpoint, I'm really proud of this group.
You know, when we came from Dayton, Ohio, when I was 5, we came to Santa Barbara first. So I went to first grade here, and I knew a lot of people through Boys and Girls Club and community church. But I'd spent second through junior high school in Ventura, and we made it to the quarterfinals, and it was a big decision for a young man. And the plan was I was going to stay and graduate in Ventura. I'd been elected student body president. One of the families I was actually going to stay with was the Trigueros coach's brother. His nephew was one of my good buddies, and I was going to stay there. Well, didn't turn out that way. As it got closer and closer, I got homesick. I missed my mother's cooking, and you know, I didn't know what the future held, but I knew it was a good chance. It would be my last year living at home with my mom, my dad, and my brother. So I came up to Santa Barbara, and I remember the first day of school. It was like I'd always been there. Everyone made me feel very welcome, on and off the floor. And I remember Coach Trigueros was a real taskmaster. He pushed us, he molded UCLA, proved me along with some other schools, but I remember when Coach Witten came up and took my mom and I out to dinner, and he did promise me money, cars and stuff under the table. He said, well, you get a chance for a good education and you might have a chance to play. And my mother said, well, I like that man. Pretty obvious. But what can you say about Coach Witten? Then I was scared of him, you know. He was a real tough taskmaster as well, and ran a tight program, and very demanding on and off the floor, expected you to go to class and do well. But he was also the man who led by example. And he didn't ask you to do anything that he didn't do or he wouldn't do. And of course, that's where I met Coach Cunningham as a freshman. I was there along with the great Bill Walton, Hall of Famer, Greg Lee, Hank Babcock, Vince Carson, and Gary Franklin. And Bill was great. You know, Bill loved to rebound and block shots, but we used to call him a black hole, you know. When he'd say, Keith, I'm open. You know, you throw that in there, you know it's the last time you're going to see it. So I developed a nice little ball fade. Worked out too well, but a lot of people ask me about my shot, and Coach Witten actually thought about changing it. And most youngsters, when they graduate from an 8-foot hoop to a 9-foot hoop to a 10-foot hoop, they kind of shoot a side one. Well, I was graduating to a 10-foot hoop, and around 11, 12 years old, I played with grown men a lot, guys in the military, because I was a good little player. And they would block my shot every single time. And so I learned how to hold the ball back there till the last second to avoid my shot getting blocked. And I did not know I was shooting any different until one day after practice, my sophomore year, because freshman couldn't play, Coach Witten called me over after practice, and I was terrified because you did not want to be singled out. This man was already well on his way to becoming an icon. On the floor, as well as off the floor, I was just, I thought he was going to send me home. He said, Keith, come here. I said, well, what is it, Coach? He said, well, I want you to shoot jump shots around the horn, and I'm going to rebound for you. And I was stunned. And Coach Witten was going to be my personal rebound. So I'm shooting the ball around the horn, and Samson, I'm drilling it. Every shot's nothing but net. And he says, now come here. I said, now how do you shoot that ball in the air? And I was looking at him like, well, you just saw me shoot 30, 40 shots. You know, what are you asking me for? But this is Coach Witten, and it's his program, and I want minutes. So, yes, sir. Oh, what's your question? Now, how do you shoot that? So I went through the whole thing, and said, well, how does that leave your hand? Does it leave your hand like this? And I'll never forget, he flipped the ball, he did a reverse spin, and does it have that good reverse spin on it? I said, well, yeah, Coach, you know, I mean, you see it, and he studied me for a long time, and he said, okay, you're dismissed. So he told me years later, we laughed and joked about it before he transitioned that, you know, he considered changing my shot, but he didn't change it. So, anyway, I was a freshman, and there was a guy who played in the band who was an engineering major, who was a straight-A student, and he was a basketball junkie. He would come to practice 90% of the time, just sit up and watch practice, and that wasn't uncommon then for UCLA. I mean, but anyway, all the freshmen, Walton, Lee, and all of us stayed in the same dorm, Dykstra, and he stayed there. And I did something that day that really excited him. And he came up to me at dinner, and we were all palling around. He said, silk! Smooth as silk! And he just blurted it out like it was an epiphany. And the guys heard that, and they got the biggest kick out of it. They were laughing and razzing me, and they started calling me smooth as silk, smooth as silk. Well, an up-and-coming broadcaster, the next year, our sophomore year, named Dick Enberg, he heard him call me that, so he started calling me that on air. Now, that was a lot better than my nickname at Ventura High School, which was Spider.